By the time Marco Polo reached China in the 1200s, he saw something that genuinely stunned him. People paying for goods with pieces of paper. Not gold, not silver, just paper stamped by the emperor that everyone treated as if it were real money. Europe wouldn't figure out how to do this for another 400 years. Last time, we watched a king in Lydia solve a problem by stamping his guarantee onto metal, and that idea spread across the ancient world fast. But metal, even stamped metal, has a limit. It's heavy, and there's only so much of it. Eventually, one civilization pushed the idea of stamped trust about as far as it could possibly go, onto something that weighed almost nothing at all. Fast forward to Song Dynasty China, around the 10th and 11th centuries. In most of the empire, people used bronze coins, similar in spirit to those Lydian coins. But in the Sichuan region, in the southwest, the government restricted bronze, worried about it being melted down or smuggled out. So merchants there were stuck using iron coins instead. Iron is heavy and iron coins were worth far less than bronze ones, which meant you needed a lot more of them to buy anything significant. Some records suggest a large transaction could require well over 1,000 coins, far more than a person could reasonably carry alone. Trade doesn't grow well under that kind of weight. Something had to give. This wasn't actually the first time Chinese merchants had solved a version of this problem. Back in the Tang Dynasty, a couple of centuries earlier, traders traveling long distances used something nicknamed flying cash. A merchant would deposit coins with a trusted office in one city and receive a paper certificate in return. That certificate could then be exchanged for the equivalent amount of coins at a partner office, potentially hundreds of miles away. The paper itself carried no value at all. It was simply proof, a promise that real money was waiting for you somewhere else. It let merchants travel light, without hauling their entire fortune down the road with them. It worked well enough as a private tool between trusted trading partners, but it wasn't official currency yet. That final step happened in Sichuan. Around the year 1023, in the city of Chengdu, a group of local merchants had already been issuing their own paper notes, called jiaozi, backed by deposits of real cash sitting safely in their vaults. Merchants would hand over their heavy coins for safekeeping and walk away with something light enough to fit inside a sleeve. For a while it worked beautifully, until a few of those merchants started printing more notes than they actually had cash to back, and the whole system began to wobble. So the Song government stepped in and did exactly what Alyadas had done with that lion stamp on his coins. 7 centuries earlier, they took over and put their own official guarantee behind the paper. The government now controlled exactly how much was printed and promised it could always be exchanged for real coin. That moment, officially dated to 1023, is widely considered the birth of the world's first true government-issued paper currency. When Marco Polo finally witnessed this system for himself, roughly 2.5 centuries later, he was reportedly so amazed he devoted an entire chapter of his writings just to describing it, explaining how the emperor's officials stamped each note and how ordinary people across the empire accepted it exactly like it was gold. In his own writings, he even noted the notes came in different sizes, representing different values, much like how our own banknotes work today. Back in Europe, nobody was doing anything close to this yet. It would take until the 1600s for European banks to seriously experiment with paper currency of their own, a gap of roughly 600 years between the idea working in China and anyone else on Earth successfully copying it. So, how was paper money actually invented? It wasn't a totally new idea. It was the same idea taken to its absolute limit. A gift, remembered between two people. A stone, remembered by an entire island. A coin, stamped and guaranteed by a king. And now paper, worth nothing at all on its own, holding value purely because an institution promised it would. Each step stripped away a little more physical substance and leaned a little more heavily on pure, shared trust. Which means the cash in your wallet, if you still carry any, isn't really paper. It's the final form of an idea that started with a shared meal around a fire, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Out of everything in this series so far, which version of trust do you think you'd have believed the fastest? A favor remembered? A stone you never touch? A stamped coin? Or a plain piece of paper? Tell me below. If you've made it this far into the series, subscribe. There's plenty more of this story left.